And need some video if I could. This is the headline from Fox News, just really quickly. Squad Representative Ayanna Pressley's ex-con husband slaps the phone out of a man's hand as he tries to ask her a question. If you are watching on Super Talk TV, this is what it sounded like real quick.
Do you support... Sir, do not get my phone out of my hands.
Ouch.
Sir, Congressman Presley, do you support President Trump investigating Somali child care fraud in Minnesota? Congressman Presley.
So she won't answer the question. And Brian Wilson, just to set the scene here, you've got Ayanna Pressley. If you don't know who Ayanna Pressley is, friends, she's the one who's got a shaved head.
She's like Fuzzy Wuzzy.
She looks...
She doesn't have any hair.
Right. And honestly, she kind of... whatever. I
more
believe that
Dan
she's...
Aykroyd and Coneheads.
I believe... Thank you, Sam. I believe that she's corrupt or whatever. But her husband apparently was served 10 years for drug trafficking, and his name is Conan Harris. So they're somewhere, and the guy is trying to ask her a question about, Somali fraud in Minnesota, and he just smacks the phone out of the reporter's hand. Can you imagine, Brian, if that was a Republican doing that to a Democrat? Oh, my goodness.
There would be screaming and wailing and gnashing of teeth. I've been in some of what we call a scrum in the television. And now it's a little different in that in the days that I would do it, it would be like, there'd be 5 or 6 television camera crews dogging somebody. And that is, I'm telling you, absolute chaos. It really is. But now it's just cell phones. People, you can get a high quality audio and video right out of your cell phone. So it's not quite as crazy as it once was. But, people who do this for a living, it's just part of the game. You're going to hack some people off. And, when it happened to me, I never thought too much of it.
Brian, can we be honest? Mm-hmm. This is something that a reporter dies for, hoping for, right? Because
you're not going to believe what happened to me. I've got some great footage. That's right.
Yeah.
You just made their case for it.
Well, and let's talk about this real quick because of your history in reporting. I don't think you and I spoke about this on Monday, but I know that you covered it last week like I did when I was on Red Eye and you were covering the morning show. Nick Shirley. So how amazing is it that Nick Shirley took down the governor of the state of Minnesota? Now, of course, Tim Walz not running for re-election. And it wasn't the Washington Post. It wasn't CNN. It certainly wasn't the New York Times. It was a 23-year-old and a cell phone.
Yeah. That's amazing. And getting back to the cell phone thing, really, to do citizen journalism, all you really need is a cell phone. You don't need a lot of it. It used to be in the days you couldn't do television without cameras and lights, and now it's easy. It's so simple. And a lot of people are taking advantage of that, and it really does change things. It's an embarrassment that there was no legitimate news organization, the mainstream media or the local stations or whatever it was. Nobody was investigating this to the level it needed to be investigated. It's quite shocking, really.
One of the things that I find interesting with in the news today, you have obviously Tim Walz. He is spouting off, trying to yell at the Republicans and talking about how the Republicans should be kicking Donald Trump out of the Oval Office and all of this stupidity. Clearly,
well, he said put up or shut up. I would be very careful if I were him. He may get exactly what he wanted.
Well, and James Comer, House Oversight, they've got committee hearings today where they're now bringing in three Republicans from the state of Minnesota, including one of them that is in charge of, I guess, the oversight on fraud in the state of Minnesota. She is a Republican also running for governor in that state. And so for Tim Walz to say put up or shut up, they're testifying today in front of House Oversight. So, Brian, you are absolutely right. All of that ahead of Tim Walz, who has been asked to join House Oversight in February, along with Keith Ellison. Now we're finding out that Keith Ellison, the Attorney General for Minnesota, he was recorded, speaking of cell phones, he was apparently recorded talking to some of these folks who have been convicted of fraud in Minnesota of talking about how he would cover them and cover for their fraud. Now, we have not heard the audio as of yet, but my opinion is Keith Ellison, I mean, that dude is as slimy as Tim Walz.
Yeah, listen, I think there's a lot there, and I think when you hear the president say that he believes there's some criminality involved in some of these, high-ranking leaders like Ellison and Walz, I think he may be right about that, and I think it's going to get real ugly for Tim Walz, and if I were him, I would be seriously thinking about stepping down. I really would. I would give that some serious thought, but he probably won't because he's not the brightest tool in the shed. So, we'll just sit back and watch what happens.
Brian, there's a lot going on as far as Venezuela goes. We have a couple of new things going on in Venezuela. We have Maduro supporting gangs, remnants of the military, or people actually in the military that are hunting down Donald Trump supporters. That's part of the conversation. Also, Trump, of course, as you know, the vice president to Maduro is now in charge of Venezuela, as opposed to the opposition leader, Maria Machado. And so somewhat controversial. I'm going to ask you about that coming back, because my question is, okay, so if you have these the members of the military that are loyal to Maduro hunting down Trump supporters, and Trump is supporting someone who is essentially the vice president of Maduro, now in charge, what is the president's next move? Because things could go south very quickly in Venezuela. We're going to talk about that coming up next. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, Brian, in Venezuela. And what is Donald Trump's next move? The headline yesterday was no ground troops from America, of course, in Venezuela. But if you've got Maduro supporting gangs hunting down Trump supporters, and you've got Maduro's vice president in charge over Maria Machado, it seems like this could go south very quickly.
Yeah, I noticed that when Trump talked about the initial raid to get to Maduro, he said there was a second wave pending, but we decided we didn't need it, and that said to me at the time, the military was staying in the barracks and they were staying out of it. I think largely they still are. You may see isolated units here and there, but I have a feeling that we still have a lot of arrows in our quiver aimed right at Venezuela. Our military could launch an attack in 10 minutes if it felt that the military was trying to take some action against the people of Venezuela or try to upset the apple cart any further. So I don't think they're dumb. I think they know that if they come stick their head out of their shell, that it's going to be lopped off very quickly by the U.S. military in rapid order. So I think that they'll largely behave. There's going to be always going to be scatterings of this and that in a chaotic situation. But I'm really surprised at how peaceful it has been, and that the military has not taken any more aggressive action.
And listen, all Trump has to do is say to the Maduro loyalists, listen, you get this under control, or we do have other options. Speaking of which, Greenland, it was really interesting.
Before we do that, can I just mention Venezuela?
Yes.
They're gonna give the United States 30 to 50 million barrels of oil.
Yep.
And I think this goes to what I was predicting on Monday when I joined you, that I think that this is largely going to go to the strategic reserve and not to the open market. Everybody's worried about it driving down the price of oil. Well, he drives down the price of oil by talking about it, then he buys a bunch of it for the strategic reserve at a very low price. Yep. I think he's playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers.
Yeah, and that oil, and you coming from Texas, of course, you know this all too well. The oil from Venezuela, they talk about how it's dirty and it's needs
what they call heavy crude, not intermediate sweet crude like you have in West Texas. It is a little bit more to process, but we have the ability to process that, and it's no big deal.
Yep, that's exactly right. All right, real quick, Greenland. I find this really interesting. So yesterday, part of my presentation was I had the audio of Jake Tapper and Stephen Miller arguing back and forth about, whether or not Trump was going to use the military. Jake Tapper was trying to pin down Stephen Miller in ruling out any use of the military. Miller wouldn't take the bait. So then I found it interesting. yesterday, the Trump administration comes out and says, of course, we have military options on the table. We're not ruling anything out. It was almost like they were responding to that interview.
You know, this is a negotiating ploy.
Yes.
It's exactly what this is. This is Donald Trump trying to force Denmark and Greenland to the table. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, surprise. After all of what happened yesterday and the last couple of days, Greenland is now seeking an audience with Marco Rubio.
Yep.
To talk about this. Look, I can't imagine us. Maybe I'll eat these words, but I don't imagine a scenario where we invade Greenland, a NATO ally.
No.
I just can't imagine it. But it is true to say that all options are on there. We have a plan for everything: to invade Greenland, to invade Canada. We've probably got a plan to invade Great Britain and all of our allies. You have those plans. That's what the military does. They put up a plan, they stick it on the shelf, and if they ever need it for some reason, they've got it. So, okay, we got a plan. It's on the table, but it's really not about that. It's about driving them to the table. We have a legitimate security concern here. I mean, we really do. And when you talk about what the Chinese and the Russians are doing up there in the Arctic regions, we have a real interest here. I think that he wants to buy Greenland.
Yep.
And I would love that. I don't think it's for sale, but maybe you can come up with some other deal where we get enhanced security agreements with Greenland and Denmark, and that might be ultimately what he's going for there, that we can put more troops in there because we have a real legitimate concern about that particular part of the world.
The thing that I loved about, and by the way, in the news today, maybe you've seen it, but Marco Rubio, apparently sources are saying that the president does want to buy Greenland, or at the very least come up with some sort of a deal, as you say. One of the things that I actually liked about the conversation between Jake Tapper and Stephen Miller was that I thought Stephen Miller really presented a good case regarding the president and NATO, and if the United States is supposed to be the main driver financially and strategically and militarily within NATO, well, then, of course, with Denmark being a NATO ally, it makes all the sense in the world for the United States to be able to take over Greenland one way or another.
Yeah, I just really think that this is all a big negotiating ploy. I think that's all that this really is.
Yep.
And I think it's working. And I don't be surprised if before very long we come up with an enhanced security agreement and a better understanding about what we need to do to protect our interest in that part of the world.
All right, real quick. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has now dissolved.
Can we just have a moment to savor the fact that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is officially 1,000% gone? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that I have wanted for a long. Government should not be in the job of producing television and radio. They shouldn't be in the job of supporting an organization that this should be private enterprise.
Right.
It drove me nuts when I was doing your job in the mornings. I was competing against one of the, a station NPR. That gets government funding.
Oh, I know.
They should not be in this business at all. I'm glad it's gone. I'm glad they're dead. And and by the way, where are all I haven't seen any NPR stations going under. I haven't seen any PBS stations, shuttering up.
No,
everybody said this was what was going to happen. It hasn't happened, has it? They've
got all their donors and all that kind of stuff. They're going to be just fine. And
it ought to be private donations. And by the way, good riddance to organizations that have always traditionally been left leaning and not up the middle.
No, you're absolutely right. And these stations are not going to go under. They're going to. Frankly, they're going to have to be able to get more donations, just like, commercial radio stations have to sell advertising.
That's right. So, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, by the way, quick thing to look out for. Supreme Court on Friday could potentially hand down a ruling on tariffs.
Is that on Friday? Okay.
I'm saying that could happen. And the other thing that I say, put on your long-range scanner. If you thought the first shutdown was a doozy, wait till the next one, because the Democrats are going to try to impose their will with regard to what Donald Trump has done in Venezuela and elsewhere. by holding up funding, and it's going to be an ugly fight.
I saw
Stand
CNN.
by.
Yes.
It's going to be really, really, really brutal.
CNN is talking about just that. They were talking about that about an hour ago, where they're talking about another government shutdown.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen.
Well, and here's the deal, Brian. The Democrats know that they got spanked in the last one. As a matter of fact, it was a big, debate or argument within the Democrat Party. Why did they give in to Donald Trump? So now I think that they realize that maybe they made a miscalculation amongst their base. And so now, with that in mind, they are going to be more
strident.
Thank you. Great word. Strident in holding their own during negotiations.
Yeah, I really believe that's going to be an ugly deal, and it's going to once again show you just how non-functional our government can be at times. But that's this is, the closer you get to the midterms, the crazier it's going to get. That's just the way it is.
Jay, I'm not sure if you are seeing this. Breaking news from the Daily Mail. U.S. forces are attempting to board rogue oil tanker in the Atlantic despite the presence of Russian vessels. Now, you know that we have been, for a little bit of background, and I'm just going off memory here, but we've been boarding some of these oil tankers from Venezuela, and also we were pursuing an oil tanker from Iran a while ago. I lost track of that story, but these were sanctioned oil tankers. And so we were, this was before we went in to take out Maduro and arrest him. These oil tankers have been, an issue because, again, they are sanctioned oil tankers from sanctioned countries. And we have been taking them over and, bringing them to the United States and basically absconding with this sanctioned oil. Well, now this could turn into something.
Yeah,
think about this.
Yeah, the Daily Mail saying that the U.S. Coast Guard and military has been chasing this thing for like 2 weeks.
So this is, we were joking about this. Joan is off today, but next couple of days. But we were joking about, how do you, our military, our Navy is chasing this oil tanker, and they. Number one, I mean, how hard is it for our Navy to, chase this oil tanker? But whatever, it took a couple of weeks. But the reason why it's such a delicate situation is because they're not going quietly. They knew that we had taken over that previous oil tanker out of Venezuela, and so they were ready for us. And now this has turned into ultimately what looks like a standoff. They say the United States is attempting to seize a Venezuela-linked oil tanker after a more than 2-week-long pursuit across the Atlantic. The seizure, which could stoke tensions with Russia, came after the tanker, originally known as the Bella 1, slipped through a U.S. maritime blockade of sanctioned tankers and rebuffed U.S. Coast Guard efforts to board it. Officials who were speaking on condition of anonymity said the operation is being carried out by the Coast Guard and the U.S. military. Pictures in Russian media purportedly show a helicopter approaching the vessel today. The chopper appears to be an American MH-6 Little Bird, which I don't know what that is, but obviously a military helicopter.
It's fast, it's light, it doesn't hold a lot of people.
Got it. Thank you, Sam. They say that American officials added that Russian military vessels were in the general vicinity when the operation took place, including a Russian submarine. So what do you do? Like, if you're Vladimir Putin and you see all of this is going on because, this oil tanker more than likely was headed to give oil to China or Russia, do you dare try to intervene with the U.S. military trying to board this oil tanker? I mean, God help them if they try to shoot down one of our helicopters.
Yeah, that won't be good.
That will not be good.
Considering the British are in on it now, too.
Yeah, I'm seeing that as well.
British Typhoon scrambled to intercept.
Right.
And how did this, here's my question. And again, this is breaking news, so, we're just sort of spitballing here, but how in the world does this massive oil tanker, how is it able to slip through a blockade? With all of the drones and the satellites and the radar and all of that stuff, how did this slip through a blockade? Did it really slip through, or did we realize this was going to be more complicated and let it sail through while we tried to figure out what to do?
So you had it in that Daily Mail article where it's now being called the Marinara. I don't know if that's the only way to pronounce it. But they changed flags and they've changed their call sign.
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah, so that's partially maybe how it got through that blockade is they're flying, I believe they're flying a Russian flag on the ship.
And what they also do is they scramble their frequencies and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
But this would be an even bigger seizure than the last one.
This is huge. What do you do if you're Trump? Like, I mean, this could turn into something really bad.
His best bet is to pull that MH6 little bird up next to the boat, and they'll get him on a call through a loudspeaker, and he'll just go, "You need to pull this boat over right now.
It'll be the worst thing ever if you don't.
You will not make it home. We'll give you a one-way ticket out of the country if you comply."
The latest location data from the vessel showed it made an abrupt turn to the south and slowed to just 8 knots. It is now around 124 miles south of Iceland. I wonder where it's trying to go. Like, where do you think it's trying to go? Do we know? Jay, do you know where this thing is trying to go?
I'm looking up details on all this, and
Trump said
that's not being revealed in the stuff I'm seeing.
Trump said last month that he had ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a policy the government in Caracas branded theft. We'll deal with it. In the run-up to the U.S. seizure of the country's former leader, Nicolas Maduro. I said all that. And so, look at everything that's happened. We've had Venezuela sending all their bad guys into our country. They were sending all of these drugs into our country. We take out the drug boats. Then we arrest Maduro in what can only be described as an absolutely incredible military operation. Within that time, we had also taken over, I think, was it 1 or 2 vessels, Jay and Sam? Do we remember? Was it only 1 or we taken over 2? And this would be the 3rd, or will this be the 2nd if we actually get it? I don't remember. But so there's been a lot going on. And of course, as I've been talking about, we've all been talking about, these vessels are, and this whole thing is about oil. It is about oil that Venezuela and Iran have been selling to Russia and China. So this is going to be fascinating. And this is going to be fascinating to watch as it continues to unfold.
This would be number 3.
This would be number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I checked the map. You said 124 miles south of Iceland.
Yeah.
That would be, which is why British Air Force got moving. It would be kind of in the Faroe Islands area, somewhat north of the UK and Ireland. So we don't know where it was headed, but it was the general area it was in.
Listen to this, Perry. This is a really long article from the Daily Mail, so all 3 of us are on it now. But 2 U.S. officials are now telling CBS News that American forces were planning to board the ship and that Washington would prefer to seize the vessel rather than sink it. Do you think Trump would sink it? You know this would come.
No. Just the environmental catastrophe aside.
Oh, absolutely. That was the first thing that popped in my mind.
Does it say how much? Does it say how much oil is on this thing?
The Daily Mail has it in a separate article about those British typhoons that scrambled. That there is 37 million pounds worth of oil on
37 million pounds,
as in the British currency pounds, not the.
Oh, okay. So I don't know what that translates to barrels of oil and so forth, but
yeah.
Oh, this is so interesting. I know that I'm not going to get a nap today.
I mean, it sounds like if they're going to put up a fight, give it to them and send them swimming with the fishes and seize the tanker, prevent an international environmental incident.
Okay, so what are the options? You can sink it, you can board it, but then if you board it, if you got guys that are you can land a helicopter on these things.
They would rappel. They'd rappel down onto
the ship.
Yeah.
So they'd rappel down onto the ship. But if they've got guns, then you are a sitting duck. Like if you're rappelling down, if they dare, if our guys are on a helicopter and they rappel down onto the ship and the oil tanker, the guys on the oil tanker decide to start shooting at our guys, they're sitting ducks.
Well,
if they have the testicular fortitude to do that, and as I said before, God help them if they do.
Or the stupidity. I think it would boil down to you've got your pilot, you've got your gunner on the window, and then you're going to rappel your team down onto the deck while that gunner gives some. But yeah, no, they're probably going to be coming down, guns out.
Yeah,
if that would be to be the case.
Is it kind of like a game of chicken?
Yeah.
Is it like a game of chicken on water? It's like
much.
everybody's waiting to see what the other one is going to do.
Yeah.
All right, very good. It's going to be fun to watch. Am I the only one that is interested to see how this is going to turn out?
I would love to see the live stream body cam footage.
Oh, can you imagine? I wonder if there's some place online we can like track this all day. I just pop the popcorn and watch.
So I kind of figured out why they haven't released the Venezuelan footage yet. They did. Remember how they said no civilian deaths?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some Venezuelan military and Cuban military deaths.
Oh, too bad.
That's probably why they can't show the footage.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on this. I mean, all day long. This is fascinating. Breaking news: U.S. forces are attempting to board this rogue oil tanker in the Atlantic despite presence of Russian vessels. And this is again a Venezuelan-linked oil tanker, and this is all part of the war against China and Russia, oil, Venezuela, Iran, Cuba. It goes on and on. Jay Harper and Sam, it looks like we have boarded that tanker. This is, I don't know where this is from, disclosed.tv and some other places. Special forces along the U.S. Coast Guard have successfully, they say, boarded the Russian-flagged Iranian oil tanker Marinara? What did you say?
It looks like Marinara.
That's what I said, yeah.
Marinara?
Yeah, right.
Now known as the Bella One.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the northern Atlantic, according to Reuters, initial reports that an additional crude oil tanker has also been boarded by the U.S. Coast Guard in the Caribbean off the coast of Latin America. And so apparently now Sky News is reporting the oil tanker has been successfully seized and is in the U.S. Can I just say how badass I feel right now with America?
Damn straight we did.
Wait, do it again.
Damn straight we did.
That is Stephen Miller. And every time we do something cool, we're just going to go ahead and play that.
Damn straight we did.
Stephen Miller. I love that. We're playing that in the 5 o'clock hour. Stephen Miller. And I think this is great. I love the fact that we are now standing up for ourselves. And I think that if this is a sanctioned oil tanker, and this is something Iranian and Venezuelan based oil tanker, and they were going to be selling some of this oil to China and Russia, and they had a Russian flag on this thing now. I love it. This is a big middle finger from Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin, seems to me. So I do. I think this is great. I love the fact that we are standing up for ourselves. And can you imagine, you think Joe Biden would ever have the testicular fortitude to do this? No, clearly not. But Donald Trump has done it. So we'll continue to monitor this situation. And yeah, it looks like the Daily Mail and CNN is actually behind the story on this, because CNN was still talking about how we're trying to board these oil tankers, and Daily Mail also saying we were trying to or threatening to board it. But apparently we have boarded these 2 oil tankers, and they are now in U.S. custody. And as Brian and I were talking about this just a few minutes ago, about an hour ago now, where it's like, okay, you know what? Our strategic oil reserves, they are barren thanks to Joe Biden. And so now we can utilize the 30 to 50 million, I guess it was barrels of oil that Venezuela is giving to America. We can use that, and the oil in these oil tankers as well. We can use that to fill up our strategic reserve.